Boom, here we go. We are recording. Hello, hello, and welcome to the Rock Metal Podcast. I am your host, John Harris. Today on the Rock Metal Podcast, we have Samuli Federley, who has a new album called 9 Classics with 8 Strings. It's released on December 1st via Dr. John Surgery Records. And the cool thing is that this is the second time we've had Samuli on, because a couple of years ago, we had a banger of an EP of instrumental guitar on a new take I found with really cool stuff. And one of the tracks, because I'm into Kung Fu, was called Guitar Kung Fu. And I thought, well, that's cool. I like Kung Fu. I like guitars. He's brought them together. And this time around, Samuli's brought together some classical tunes, and not just on guitar like we've seen before in the past. I'm trying to remember the name of that movie with Steve Vai, and they're doing the Paganini song.
Yeah, Crossroads.
Yeah, Crossroads. Whereas this is being done on 8-string guitar. So very cool stuff. Samuli, welcome back onto the show.
Thank you, John. It's my pleasure to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
You are quite welcome. Now, something that I thought was interesting, you said 9 classics with 8 strings. I was just kind of curious, why not like 8 classics with 8 strings, or 9 classics with 9 strings, or, you know, just 12 classics with 12 strings?
Yeah, tell me about it. Well, actually, I've been playing 8-string guitars for 10 years, so that's just a thing for me. But, well, I had like 9 classical songs under my fingers, so I just wanted to record those. And of course, I was thinking that should I play with the numbers more, like having 8 classics with 8 strings. But it's not that a big deal. It's just I just had those 9 songs and put them on one album.
Okay.
So there's and actually coming up with some kind of title was a little bit tricky for me this time around. So it's just Untitled, nothing more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, you mentioned you've already got 9 classical songs under your fingers, and when I was on your YouTube page, I noticed that it seems like over the years, these songs have popped up a few times in various capacities, such as live with an actual orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I guess take us through these particular 9 songs. What is it about these songs that bring you back to them? Is it something that you do for practice? Is it something that you do just because you love it? The challenge of it? Take us through these 9 songs.
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, it's everything you just mentioned about. I've been always fascinated with classical music, and especially the more melodical side with piano and violin, maybe. I'm not that much into classical with, the classical guitar style. I'm more into the violin and piano sound. And some of these songs I made for my live shows. I knew that people are going to know these songs, like Conte Partiro, and then there's Finlandia Hymni, which is a big song here in Finland. It's almost like our national anthem, but not the official one. Mm-hmm. Anyway, everybody knows that. And for my surprise, people reacted very positively every time I played them on my shows, and even asked for more. So that sparked me to okay, I need to have more repertoire with classical stuff. And then I did Carmina Burana, which is kind of a more like scary song for me. It's used in horror movies many times, and I like the little bit darker vibe, and that's why I made it to be more in metal style.
Okay.
And then some of the songs are more like the original ones, like Vivaldi's Storm. I'm performing that with an symphonic orchestra, so there's not kind of any arrangements going on with that song. But then again, Conte Partiro, that is more arranged into more like epic metal style, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there's one song from Bach. It's originally made for cello. It's the cello suite. Yeah, cello suite number 1 in G major, I guess. So I made that into a solo guitar piece with clean sound. So there's not anything but guitar. Some little piano and cello, but mainly guitar. So I try to be versatile with the arrangements too. So there's a metal style, then some original styles, then only guitar, and basically that's it. And then I have I wanted to have 3 like super crazy songs, like Flight of the Bumblebee is one of those. Then I'm having like 4 epics, like Conte Partiro, and 2 little bit slower ones like Ave Maria and this cello suite.
Okay. It's kind of funny you mentioned, putting it into your live shows. And I imagine, because at least here in Canada, and a couple of times I've seen some like shows in the States, like, Satriani or Vi or whatever. It seems like that crowd kind of feeds on that very idea that you could pick up a guitar and take a violin piece and shred it with a distortion pedal. Yeah. Attached to it. Do you find that that's the same thing in Finland and in Europe, that the crowd is almost craving for you to, like you said, not necessarily bust out into classical guitar, but a classical piece that maybe was originally like a Chopin piece on the piano that's very fast, very intricate, and here you are doing it on guitar.
Yeah, it's exactly the same here also. Many times people from the audience come after the show to tell me that they have never heard or even thought about that you can do it like this, to play classical music with electric guitar. And for me, that's obvious. Why not? Of course you can do it.
Yeah.
But I think they are same time they are surprised and of course they also classical music is very like not mainstream music in here. But for my surprise, whenever I played, even though those people who come to thank me for playing those songs, I'm sure they doesn't listen to classical music on their spare time.
Right.
But there's something that something with the classical music played with electric guitar that touches them, and I think it's probably more cool or easier to access, or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, when it came to, so you mentioned something about doing 8-string for a few years now, and I don't want to bore everybody with, well, why the 8-string? But I imagine, where was the challenge in utilizing the 8-string on these classical pieces, and maybe where was it really easy? Like I imagine for the cello suite, using the 8-string was probably pretty easy because it's a cello suite.
Yeah, actually, it was easy for me, and basically, I did the cello suits a little different way. It's kind of I arranged it to be like more chordal style playing, not like melodical style. Right. But you'll hear it anyway. It's low, it's low, clean tone chords, and I think it's very unique, hopefully. And one other thing, as I mentioned, I always like to play and listen to classical piano pieces. And a piano has a lot more larger register than a normal guitar. It goes way lower and a little bit higher than normal 6-string guitar. But with my 8-string guitar, it covers almost the same range as piano does. So it's very easy when you have some kind of a classical piano piece, and it's more than likely that the notes are going to go as low as the 8-string register, if you know what I mean. So basically, I'm just playing the piano pieces as they are, and they fit into 8-string guitar very naturally.
Okay, so it was a no-brainer then. I mean, obviously, if you've been playing 8-string for 10 years, it's a bit easier, especially if you're familiar with these pieces. Now, a couple of tracks you wanted to chat about today, I guess maybe out of focal point was Vivaldi's Storm and Cante Partiro, and I'm curious why these two tracks. And I know Vivaldi's Storm seems to be one that you've been playing with for a while, as well as obviously Cante Partiro, and then I saw the video as well live with the orchestra. Why these two tracks?
Well, I love them both. I love the whole Four Seasons thing. With all the thing, this Storm is only kind of the closing part of the summer theme, and I think the overall composition is like 45 minutes or so. So the Storm part is only like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, but still it's very powerful 3 minutes. And I think it's the most famous part of that whole thing called Four Seasons. So I guess that's the reason I picked that up, because people know that song, and I already noticed the response of the song while I used to play it live. And the other thing is that it's originally an instrumental, and it's written for violin, and it translates perfectly for guitar, and it's one of those three crazy songs I mentioned about. 4 epics, 2 ballads, and 3 crazy ones. So this is one of the crazy ones, and it's very tricky to master with guitar. I needed to practice it for probably like, I don't know, for like half a year to have it down that well that I can perform it like eyes closed, and to really have it under my skin.
Yeah. I guess maybe as another guitar player, and hopefully people who aren't guitar players don't get bored about learning about practice. But how do you, aside from just sitting down with a metronome, how do you practice that? How do you gain momentum on that? Because I imagine at certain points it felt like you were hitting a wall.
Yeah.
And you couldn't go any faster than, I don't know, 90 beats per minute or whatever. Like, how do you blow past that and eventually get to a point where you're comfortable enough to hit record on that?
Yeah, it's another good question. One thing when translating pieces from other instruments to guitar is actually to figure out how to play it. I know where the notes are, but with guitar you can play a simple phrase like in a million ways. So I'm trying to figure out the most easier and the most logical way for me to play those parts, and usually that process takes the most of my time to figure out. And then I might even play it for 1 month in one way, which I think is the best way to do it. And then I figure out, hey, I can do this part even better in an easier way. So searching for the best way to do it is the key point for me. And then I'm just going piece by piece, like bar by bar, or 10 seconds and 10 seconds, and just trying to learn it to my muscle memory so that I don't have to think about it at all. And I think the speed comes pretty easily after that.
So yeah, it makes sense.
So if I'm having like bad fingering or bad technique for this part, it's going to be really difficult to speed it up. But when I'm having a best possible fingering and technique for the thing, it comes pretty easy.
Yeah, because one of the things I was thinking is some of the ways that those guys were able to come across as playing so fast is they have a bow, and the bow allows for things to come across faster than with a guitar pick. So I think it's significantly more challenging than people think to translate some of this stuff to guitar.
It is. Yeah, it's composed for violin, and some of the parts are really tricky for guitar. They don't make sense. They don't sit well in the fretboard, and your fingers get crossed and whatever.
Because the guitar fretboard's upside down in comparison.
Absolutely. Yeah. But actually, I like the process when or the thing that I am not playing the normal, typical guitar patterns like pentatonic licks or whatever. I'm having totally new kind of things that I would never come up with using a guitar, and it's even worse with when playing piano stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Since violin is a string instrument, and then I'm having the other crazy song called Aquarium by Camille Saint-Saëns.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tough one to figure out how the hell I'm gonna play that with guitar. It took me probably 1 month even to figure out what is happening.
Right.
It's very confusing. And then I was like, oh my God, it's impossible to play this song with guitar.
And then you did it. So what was the moment, what was the crux moment where you broke through?
Actually, I used my students as guinea pigs. I have a couple of students that are more capable, like technique-wise, than the other ones. So I took this song for them, and then we were actually tackling it together. And when I'm actually teaching the song for somebody else, I need to think it a little differently than I'm thinking about it when I'm just playing it by myself. And actually, that helped a lot to analyze the song with my students. And then I was just trying to figure out again the best possible way to play the phrases, and I needed to slice it into like one bar phrases, the whole song, and needed to analyze each bar separately. This bar is going to be using tapping and sweeping and some legato. Okay, then I have to use some other technique in here, and it's a mess.
Yeah, well, you mentioned going with some stuff with your students. Does that then impact? Did working on this record then impact your teaching? Do you teach differently now?
Maybe. I think so, and it gives me a perspective when or after teaching the super hard stuff and trying to present it as simply as I can for the students. So after these kind of things, kind of the normal stuff feels like super easy and clear, and I think it makes my normal teaching more efficient or
Yeah. One question I kind of had, 'cause you mentioned, three crazy songs, one of them being Flight of the Bumblebee. And I'm trying to think of how to ask the question with kind of almost not sounding rude, but hasn't it been done before? Why Flight of the Bumblebee on guitar?
Yeah, it has been done before, and it has been done faster and whatever. But I think I haven't heard any Finnish guy doing that before.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I might be one of the first ones here. So
there you go. I'm always reminded of the one that John Petrucci did several years ago.
Yeah, Flight of the Mosquito. It's
yeah,
yeah, he named it like that. It sounds pretty much the same, but it's his own.
Right.
So.
Now, this year has obviously been really quite interesting because of COVID, and you mentioned that things have been a little bit different in Finland from perhaps other places. But how has this year gone for you? And with regard to that, like this record's being released at the end of the year. Was it postponed for maybe an earlier release with plans to do like a tour on it? How is the year unfolded for you?
Yeah, thank you. It's been I think it has been better than I was supposed or thought it would end up being. Of course, many gigs have been cancelled, but I found out that since I'm mainly doing shows all by myself, I'm using backing tracks and there's my guitar. So we've actually right now we are having some venues open here. We can do shows, but we can do basically the capital area is being locked down but rest of the Finland is more or less open. So many venues or bars, they want to have full bands. But since I'm playing by myself as a one-man band, they are checking me. So I've had pretty nice amount of shows here. And then, of course, the lockdown gave us the new idea of having live stream shows. I think that's a global thing right now. And even this week, I'm having 2 live stream shows. So it's going pretty nice. And having lots of Skype students as well because of the COVID crisis is a good thing for me. And with the record, since some of the shows got cancelled, especially during the springtime, that was the time when I was recording most of the album, I got the time to actually do it. And then the rest of the year went with the business side of things. I had a new record label, and I thought that the December is a perfect month for the release, just before the Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Grab that and put it under the digital tree, ladies and gentlemen.
exactly.
Now you mentioned a new record label. Maybe take us through that. Were you shopping around while recording this record?
No, actually, that's a funny story. It was some fan of mine. I think he contacted me through some of my YouTube videos, telling me that, hey, can I send you an email? I have something to offer you. And I was sure, go ahead. And he wrote me a mail telling me that he is somebody who he knows owns a record label and might be interested in me. So I contacted the label, and it's a British label called Dr. John's Surgery Records. And we agreed that they're interested in my music, and were very willing to release my stuff. Actually, we immediately compiled a little mini EP, older songs, which they released. And then we released 1 single, plus now this full album. And then I was supposed to do a little festival show in England that was arranged by the company, but it got postponed until next March if it's okay to travel then. And so it looks fine.
Yeah, makes sense. And then a couple other things you mentioned there was live streaming, which you've been doing, and some students. And you'd mentioned, obviously, we chatted a little bit about being a teacher already. So I guess the live stream was complicated for some bands, but because it's just you and some backing tracks, I guess it's pretty easy to set up a live stream.
Yeah, I think sound-wise it works perfectly, since my setup is built so that I don't need any miking to capture my sound. I'm connecting my guitar sound straight into the PA system, as well as my backing track. So with the live streaming, I'm having the perfect sound for the audience. So that is the easy part. And actually, I've had relatively big budget live stream shows here in Finland, like with 9 cameras and performing in a big studio and nice environment. So I was lucky to have those chances, but technically it's very easy to pull off my kind of live stream thing.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then students, I was just curious, during this time, are you able to attract more students because people want to be online, or has it just been maintaining your students?
Both again. For my surprise, people seem to adapt into the Skype teaching thing pretty well. So some of the guys that started to have lessons with me in the spring are still having those Skype lessons with me, and then I'm having some new students, couple of students every month. Or just today, I got one request of having a few lessons, and some guys want to have 2 lessons, and some guys want to have 1 a year or whatever. So both ways are fine with me.
Okay. So they see a YouTube video and they see you doing the storm and they're like, hey, I want to learn that. And then they hit you up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it, yeah. And then I'm advertising that a little bit in my social media. And even on my webpage, it says that you can book me a Skype lesson. And yeah, usually I don't ask where people find me, but I think I should. It would be interesting to know.
Yeah, know where to put your energy into.
Yeah.
And there is that. Yeah, I'm on your website right now. So if you are listening in still, watching still, that is samulifederley.com. And if you go to today's show notes at www.therockmetalpodcast.ca, I'll have all the links there. I'll also have a couple of videos to be able to watch from today's content. Otherwise, Samuli, we've chatted about Vivaldi's Storm, Cante Partito. We've chatted about the 9 classics. We've chatted about the 8 strings. We chatted about Dr. John's surgery records. We chatted about COVID-19. The only thing we didn't chat about was, I don't know, Finnish meatballs and Finnish cinnamon buns.
Yeah, they are good ones. Yeah, you just try them out.
I should. I just found out that the cinnamon buns actually mean slapped ears.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's a way to punish little kids.
With cinnamon buns. That's my favorite punishment.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. I've had those a few times.
Okay, beautiful. All right. Is there anything that I did not mention, Samuli, that you wanted to chat about?
I think we've covered a lot of topics here, so I'm pretty fine here, and I hope to see everybody on tour. I was supposed to do some Korean tour this year and England or whatever, but let's just cross fingers and hope that next year will be easier for us and the tour would happen again.
Mm-hmm. All right, beautiful.
Yeah.